Simple Tales presents The Magic Horse of the Clouds, a Mongolian folktale. Have you ever wondered whether the greatest treasures are the ones we hold tightly, or the ones we are brave enough to set free? Many believe that owning something beautiful means keeping it close. Others chase power by claiming what was never meant to be possessed. But the old storytellers of the Mongolian steppe believed that true loyalty cannot be bought, sold, or forced. It can only be given. This is the story of the magic horse of the clouds. Long ago, when the grasslands stretched farther than any eye could travel, there lived a humble herder named Batu. He owned little, a small felt tent, a herd of sheep small enough to count on both hands, and a heart larger than the open sky. Each morning, he rose before the sun. He checked his animals. He mended torn rope. He shared his last bowl of milk tea with travelers who had nothing. The other herders admired his kindness. They also pitied his poverty. Batu, they often said, a man with so few animals will never know prosperity. Batu only smiled. Prosperity is not counted in animals. It is counted in trust. One summer evening, a terrible storm swept across the steppe. Lightning split the sky into jagged pieces. Thunder rolled like the hooves of 10,000 invisible horses. Rain fell so hard that the earth itself seemed to dissolve. Batu secured his animals and waited inside his tent. When the storm finally passed, the world smelled of wet grass and electricity. He walked out to check his herd. Near the edge of a flooded stream, he found something unexpected. A foal. It was the color of morning mist. Its coat shimmered with a strange silver light, as though the storm itself had woven it into being. It trembled in the cold grass. Its mother was nowhere to be found. Batu knelt beside it. "Where did you come from, little one?" The foal looked at him with eyes the color of storm clouds. Batu wrapped it in his own coat and carried it home. For many weeks he nursed it with warm milk and gentle words. He slept beside it on cold nights. He spoke to it as though it could understand every thought. The foal grew quickly. Its legs became strong and graceful. Its mane flowed like water. And when it ran across the steppe, something impossible happened. Its hooves barely touched the ground. Dust did not rise behind it. Instead, small clouds seemed to form beneath its feet, carrying it forward as though the wind itself were its servant. Batu watched in wonder. "You are not an ordinary horse," he whispered. "You are born from the clouds, and to the clouds you will always belong." He never placed a bridle upon it. He never struck it with a whip. He simply opened his tent flap each morning and let the horse choose whether to stay or to run. The horse always chose to stay. Word of the miraculous grey horse spread across the steppe. Herders spoke of it around their evening fires. Travelers claimed they had seen it galloping beside the moon. Children dreamed of touching its silver mane. Eventually, the rumors reached the great Khan. He was a powerful man who believed that everything beautiful in his kingdom belonged to him. He sent his warriors to Batu's tent. "The Khan wishes to buy your horse," they announced. "He offers 100 horses in exchange. Gold, silk, land as far as the eye can see." Batu looked at the grey horse grazing peacefully beside his tent. "I am honored by the Khan's offer," he said. "But this horse is not mine to sell. He stays because he chooses to stay, and I will not force him to choose otherwise." The warriors laughed. "A horse is an animal. Animals do not choose, they obey." Batu shook his head. "Then you have never known a true horse." The warriors returned to the Khan empty-handed. The Khan grew angry. No one had ever refused him. The next morning, his soldiers surrounded Batu's tent. "The Khan does not ask twice," their captain declared. "The horse will come with us. And you will be wise to step aside." Batu stood before his tent. He did not raise a weapon. He simply said, "Take him if you can." The soldiers reached for the grey horse. The horse reared. Its eyes flashed like summer lightning. It struck the earth with one hoof, and a great cloud of dust and wind burst outward, knocking the soldiers to the ground. They tried again. They brought ropes. They brought chains. They brought whips. The grey horse would not be touched. Every rope snapped. Every chain slid from its neck as though it were made of smoke. Every whip cracked against empty air. At last the Khan himself rode to Batu's tent. He sat upon a golden saddle, surrounded by guards. "You are a fool," he said to Batu. "My enemies gather beyond every border. With that horse, I could protect my people from here to the eastern sea. I could build a kingdom where no child fears the winter. And you would keep it in a field beside a poor man's tent?" Batu looked at the Khan calmly. An empire built on a stolen horse would be an empire built on sand. The wind would remember, and the wind does not forgive. The Khan's face darkened. "Then I will take him by force." He ordered his best horsemen to surround the grey horse. They closed in slowly. The horse looked at Batu. Batu understood. He walked to the horse and placed his hand upon its neck. "You do not have to stay," he whispered. "If freedom means the clouds, then go. I would rather miss you than see you chained." The grey horse nickered softly. Then it reared. With a sound like thunder, it galloped across the steppe, faster, faster. Its hooves struck the earth one last time. Then it leaped. The horse rose into the sky. Small clouds gathered beneath its feet. The wind carried it upward, higher and higher, until it disappeared into the vast blue above the steppe. The Khan stared in disbelief. His soldiers lowered their weapons. The greatest horse in the world had escaped into the heavens, and no one could follow. The Khan turned to Batu with cold fury. "You let him go. You chose poverty over power." Batu watched the empty sky. "I chose friendship over ownership. That is a different kind of power." The Khan rode away, muttering about foolish herders. Batu's neighbors shook their heads. "You had the greatest horse in the world," they said, "and you let him fly away." Batu smiled. He was never mine to keep. Winter came early that year. The steppe froze. Snow fell so deep that sheep vanished beneath it. Travelers stopped coming. Food grew scarce. Batu's small herd suffered. His own stores dwindled. One morning, when the cold was so fierce that breath turned to ice, Batu opened his tent flap. He froze. There, standing in the snow, was the grey horse. Its coat still shimmered like storm clouds. Its breath rose in warm clouds against the frozen air. Behind it stood a herd of wild horses. They had followed the grey horse through the snow as though some ancient instinct had called them to him. Batu ran to him. He pressed his face against the horse's neck. "You came back." The horse breathed softly against his shoulder. Batu closed his eyes. He did not need an answer. The wild horses brought new life to Batu's struggling herd. Their presence gave the villagers food, warmth, and hope until the winter finally loosened its grip. From that day onward, the grey horse lived with Batu, not as a prisoner, not as property, but as a friend who chose every morning to open his eyes beside a humble tent. Sometimes, travelers still claim to see a silver horse galloping across the clouds at sunset. The old herders smiled when they heard these stories. They knew the truth. The magic horse of the clouds had never needed a master. He had needed a friend. And, in the end, that was exactly what he found. True loyalty is never demanded. It is always given. And when it is given freely, it is worth more than every empire the world has ever known. Thank you for listening to Simple Tales. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more timeless tales from around the world. Until next time, may you love what is wild enough to set it free, and may what is free choose to stay beside you.